media, yes, Cleveland Brown reporters is pretty much saying that John Harbaugh is headed to Cleveland as early as next week. Jimmy Haslam doing everything he got to do to potentially land his coach.
Biggest name that's been attached to the Browns coaching search has been John Harbaugh.
What I was told by a industry source who doesn't have intimate knowledge of Harbaugh, but just his speculation about these things. He's seen these coaching moves been made before.
I want to, like, it's the type of job that just doesn't come open in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, you want this.
The NFL just took a sharp turn, and Cleveland is right in the middle of it. A Browns insider is saying John Harbaugh could start working with Shedeur as soon as next week. If that lines up, it suddenly makes the recent moves in Cleveland look a lot less messy and a lot more calculated. What's floating out of the building doesn't feel like random chatter anymore. It feels mapped out, step by step. Cleveland is still checking boxes with other coaching candidates, and that's how the league works. Interviews get requested, protocols get followed, and teams keep options alive. But when the same name keeps popping up behind closed doors, that's usually the tell. John Harbaugh isn't just another face in the crowd here. He's the name that keeps pulling the room back to one direction. He's the benchmark. If the Browns are serious about resetting their culture, their leadership, and the whole vibe of the organization, this move tracks. You don't bring in someone like Harbaugh unless you're ready to lock into a real plan.
Who speculates on what he's heard about Harbaugh's prerequisites to even be interested in your job.
Okay.
$20 million a year.
Not a problem.
Not a problem. $10 million assistant coach budget.
Not a problem.
Okay. Total authority over the roster. And also would like to select his own guy to lean on, personnel guy.
Okay, so would he be making the draft picks? Like, you're going to ask this guy? That kind of makes me feel uneasy. Does he want more say over the roster than what he had in Baltimore?
Yes. Yes.
Ooh.
Which would be a total change in the structure here. I think there are 4 definite candidates for Harbaugh to end up.
For a young quarterback like Shedeur, stability isn't a bonus, it's the foundation. Clear leadership matters more than flashy promises. Too many young quarterbacks flame out because the franchise never fully commits to a real structure around them. This is where John Harbaugh's presence starts to matter heavy for Shedeur. Shedeur doesn't need confusion. He doesn't need mixed signals from the front office pulling one way while the coaching staff pulls another. He needs structure, straight talk, and a coach who can lead veterans and young players without losing either side. Harbaugh has been doing that for years, and the locker room always knows where he stands. He understands locker rooms, pressure, and expectations at the highest level. If Shedeur is going to level up in the pros, he needs someone who can shield him from the outside noise while still holding him accountable when it counts. That balance is rare in this league. How much is it really worth to have a head coach who knows when to back his quarterback and when to push him forward? From the bigger picture, this points to something Cleveland hasn't always done well, letting real football people run football decisions. A coach like John Harbaugh doesn't step into a building just to smile for cameras or be a name on a press release. He looks for alignment across the board. Coaching staff, roster decisions, vision, and long-term direction all have to be moving together, not fighting each other behind the scenes. That type of structure is huge for a quarterback like Shedeur because it creates consistency. No yearly reset button, no starting over with a brand new system every season, just steady growth and a clear path forward. If Cleveland truly wants to evaluate what they have in Shedeur, this is the smartest setup possible. Backing Harbaugh isn't only about hiring a coach, it's about putting Shedeur in a position where development actually makes sense. When you slow this conversation down, the John Harbaugh talk isn't really about money. Teams like Cleveland can handle the financial part without blinking. What really matters here is control and clarity, and everyone in the league knows that's where deals either get done or fall apart. Harbaugh isn't trying to walk into a situation where he's expected to deliver results but has no real say in shaping the roster. That's not how experienced coaches operate. At this point in his career, if he takes a new job, it has to be on his terms. For a young quarterback like Shedeur, that kind of setup can actually be a positive because it means one clear voice, one plan, and fewer distractions pulling everything apart. Everything comes down to clarity. Young quarterbacks don't usually fail because they lack talent. They fail because too many voices are in their ear at once, each one pulling them in a different direction. When there is no clear chain of command, development stalls. That reality puts Shedeur right at the center of this conversation, whether people want to admit it or not. John Harbaugh has always leaned toward quarterbacks who can handle pressure, stay composed, and understand the game beyond the playbook. He values toughness, confidence, and decision-making over hype. Shedeur fits that profile. From a football standpoint, it's easy to see why a coach like Harbaugh would believe he's someone worth committing to long-term. NFL coaches don't chase trends, they chase traits that last. If Harbaugh is pushing for real authority over roster decisions, it likely ties back to trust at quarterback. Coaches want to know the player they believe in won't be undermined by mixed priorities. That kind of authority isn't about ego. It's about making sure the quarterback is supported with the right protection, coaching staff, and system that fits his skill set. That structure matters right now for Shedeur. This stage of his career isn't about shortcuts or emergency fixes. It's about consistent reps, clear expectations, and a scheme that allows him to grow without forcing him into bad situations. If Cleveland is even open to giving Harbaugh that level of control, it suggests they may finally be ready to approach quarterback development the right way. At the same time, this situation brings uncomfortable questions about Kevin Stefanski's handling of the position. Looking back, Shedeur's role always felt uncertain. His opportunities were limited, and when chances for meaningful reps came up, they didn't always follow. Other options were given longer leashes, even when the offense struggled to find rhythm. The injury explanations only added to the confusion. From the outside, it felt less like clear communication and more like ambiguity. That kind of uncertainty can stall a young quarterback's progress fast. A player can't grow when he doesn't know where he stands or what his role really is. When trust and opportunity lean one way, players notice. The locker room notices too. Shedeur wasn't just competing against opponents. He was navigating a situation where commitment never felt fully locked in. That kind of environment makes development harder than it ever needs to be. There were stretches where the offense clearly lost rhythm. Drives stalled, games slipped, and adjustments were needed in real time. Yet Shedeur still wasn't given trust when the situation called for it. That's not execution, that's rigidity. When decisions like that cost momentum, the accountability doesn't land on the quarterback who never got a real opportunity. It lands on the coach making the calls. At a certain point, it's fair to question whether winning was the main goal or if comfort and preference played a bigger role. Seeing Stefanski now take interviews elsewhere adds another layer to the conversation.
An interview with Kevin Stefanski for their head coaching position.
Well, I don't like that.
How about that?
I would prefer that he go to the Giants with Jackson Dart. Yeah.
I don't know, because I know what you think about Jackson Dart. I think that means you think he's going to fail in New York.
No, I just know he has a better chance of succeeding in Baltimore, and I don't need that.
Lamar obviously gives everyone a better chance than what Jackson Dart is. There's like a clear, obvious, like, hey, good for you, Stefanski. But you're living up in Harbaugh's shadow. That's really tough shoes to fill.
From the outside, it feels like stepping away from something he had a hand in shaping. Working in the shadow of someone like John Harbaugh wouldn't be easy for anyone, especially when your own track record with developing young quarterbacks invites scrutiny. Stefanski had a window to build something with Shedeur, and that window closed without real commitment. Instead of growing the talent, it felt restricted. Instead of protecting his quarterback, uncertainty followed him. That's why the criticism doesn't feel forced. When Shedeur struggled, it wasn't happening in a vacuum. It came within a situation where belief and trust were never fully established. Fans see that, and they remember it. This also highlights a bigger concern for Browns fans when coordinator-style hires get discussed. Drawing up clever plays or having a strong stretch as a coordinator doesn't automatically translate to leading an entire organization. Being a head coach goes beyond schemes. It's about managing personalities, pressure, and tough decisions every single week. Coaches making the jump from coordinator often need time to adjust to that responsibility. Cleveland doesn't feel like a place that can afford another learning curve, especially with Shedeur in the picture. He doesn't need someone figuring it out as they go. He needs leadership that already understands how to run a building and shield a young quarterback from unnecessary chaos.
But is someone like Mike McDaniel, is that enough for the Browns fans to get excited about? Or is he just done too much in Miami that it's just going to end up being a meh hire and something they shouldn't actually be excited about?
I would say that I am intrigued by the prospect of a Mike McDaniel coming in and then, working. You would be able to keep Jim Schwartz in that particular case, right? Because that's an offensive guy, and you'd be able to keep the defense and you would inject some more creativity into the offense. I think, him working with a guy like a Quinshon Judkins would be good. I think McDaniel with a different quarterback, and God only knows who that would be with the Browns, and putting together a run game, you obviously need a lot better offensive linemen. And yeah, that's intriguing. I don't know if anybody's going to be excited about that, and I wouldn't blame them based on what we've seen from Miami over the course of the last 2 years. And by the way, the Browns demolished the Miami Dolphins over the course of this season. So I would be intrigued, but I don't know if excited is the right word.
Names like Mike McDaniel naturally catch attention. The ideas sound sharp. Motion-heavy offense, modern concepts, creative run schemes. On paper, it all feels progressive, but the league doesn't grade coaches on diagrams. Results under pressure are what matter. Miami has had talent in place and still came up short when moments demanded adaptability. That's part of the evaluation, not an afterthought. A coach can look brilliant during install and still struggle when defenses adjust, injuries stack up, or the game tightens late. That gap is important when talking about Shedeur. He doesn't need someone who's constantly tweaking for the sake of creativity. He needs a teacher, someone who can slow the game down, reinforce confidence, and stay steady when things aren't clean. For a young quarterback, constant system changes can do real damage. Growth doesn't come from flipping philosophies every time there's resistance. Shedeur needs a head coach who values structure, accountability, and patience. Those traits don't show up on highlight reels, but they show up in development. This isn't about hype or chasing the next trendy name. It's about creating an environment with defined roles, a dependable run game, protection that holds up, and a coaching staff aligned on one message. That's how quarterbacks survive early in their careers. Fans can get excited about creativity, but excitement alone doesn't win games. Stability does. If Cleveland is truly committed to giving Shedeur a fair opportunity, the hire has to be someone who knows how to build around a quarterback over time, not just design plays and hope everything clicks. This moment feels like a crossroads for Cleveland. The decisions being discussed now will shape more than just next season. They will determine whether the organization finally commits to long-term development or keeps cycling through short-term fixes. For a young quarterback like Shedeur, that difference is everything. Quarterbacks don't develop in chaos. They develop in environments where expectations are clear and patience exists. That requires leadership at the top that understands timing, growth, and restraint. Not every mistake needs an overreaction. Not every setback means starting over. Shedeur needs space to learn without constantly looking over his shoulder. This is why experience matters so much in this hire. A coach who has already navigated locker rooms, media pressure, and playoff expectations knows how to keep things steady when emotions run high. That steadiness protects young players from being overwhelmed before they're ready. Cleveland has tried quick fixes before. New systems, new voices, new promises. The results speak for themselves. If the Browns truly want a different outcome, the approach has to change. That means prioritizing leadership that values consistency over noise. For Shedeur, this isn't about being handed anything. It's about being given a fair structure to earn his place, a real plan, real support, and real accountability. If Cleveland gets this decision right, it won't just impact the coaching staff. It could finally give their young quarterback the foundation he's been missing. This whole situation isn't just about one hire or one season. It's about whether Cleveland is finally ready to stop repeating the same mistakes. For years, the Browns have searched for answers while changing voices, systems, and priorities. Now they're staring at a moment that could either reset everything or push them back into the same cycle. Shedeur represents more than potential. He represents a chance to do things differently. That only works if the organization is willing to protect development instead of rushing outcomes. Stability, leadership, and belief are not luxuries in this league. They are requirements, especially for a young quarterback trying to find his footing. If Cleveland commits to experience, structure, and one clear vision, this story looks very different a year from now. If they don't, the same questions will keep coming back, just with new names attached. The margin between success and failure in the NFL is thin, and it's usually decided behind the scenes before Sundays ever arrive. This is why these conversations matter. This is why fans should be paying attention now, not later. The choices being made today will define what Shedeur becomes tomorrow. For deeper breakdowns, real context, and the stories behind the headlines, make sure you're tapped into Huddle Files. That's where the game gets explained without the noise. And you already know, we'll have every second of it broken down, every twist, every leak, every hidden play behind the headlines. So subscribe, drop a comment, and share it out. Stay locked in with Huddle Files, where the real NFL stories live.